I'm Chris Robb. I'm the CEO and founder of Mass Participation World. Delighted to be your host tonight for the next 2.5 hours. We are trying to get the chat up, but we will engage as we go through the program in both the chat and the Q&A. As I mentioned, we have 12 speakers from across the globe. I'll introduce them shortly. We're 2 hours and 30 minutes roughly on the program. As I mentioned, live on the MPW Facebook page. We're also, as always, live streaming into China. A big thank you to our friends from CGX Consulting, Julia Cui, Jerry, and Qing Ling from the team there. And let's go through the program. So we're going to kick off in a moment with our first segment, which is a Valencia case study. Amazing success story, Valencia. We're going to be welcoming MArian Sanchez Vidal from Valencia, who's going to be sharing a case study with us. And then when that session finishes, we're going to welcome myself back, or I'll bring myself back, and we're going to welcome a panel as we explore what are runners looking for when they travel and how is the market changing. We'll be joined by Lorenzo Benfenati, who's the Senior Project Manager of Asia Run Rome, joining us from Rome. Elisabet Olival, Director of Kamel Turismo, will be joining us from Rio de Janeiro. And then Armaando Girello, who's the General Director of Travelrun Chamonix, will be joining us from Sao Paulo. We then head over to Africa, where we'll be joined by Lehlohonolo Makaja, who's the founder of Dreambib, and he'll be joining us from Gaborone in Botswana. Then we move on to a pre-recorded section, a fascinating segment, this macro trends in Chinese running. That was pre-recorded because our guest Weihong Tang, who's on the supervisory board of the People's Daily Online, and the Chinese Marathon Figure of the Year in 2017, a wonderful pre-recorded segment that we'll be playing for you. Sticking with the Chinese theme, we will then welcome Mr. Du, who's actually in Bangkok tonight, but he will have a conversation with Alessio Punzi. Alessio needs no introduction, the head of running and mass participation from World Athletics, and they will be talking about the Chinese running tourism market. From there, we will head to a short segment, but a really important segment. We're going to talk about the elephant in the room, offsetting carbon emissions. There's plenty of data and research that shows one of the biggest impacts from an environmental perspective and carbon emissions is the inbound participants for our mass participation and running events. So what can we do about that? How can we offset? Delighted to be joined by Jeroen Bakker, who's the COO of Circular Unity. He'll be joining us from Lelystad in the Netherlands, and very delighted that he's joining us. He's under the weather, been battling flu, and very pleased that he's going to make it on the digital screen for us, the digital stage, I mean. We then head over to the USA, and really excited to have a session with Jeff Adams. He's the president of Marathon Tours and Travel. He's joining us from Boston, and I'm going to be having a wonderful conversation. We had a great planning call a few days ago. We're going to be speaking about the growing allure of extraordinary destination experiences. Looking forward to that. And then we wrap the show up with bringing on Charlotte Melchert, who's the CEO and founder of World Sports Group, joining us from Stockholm. She's got some great trends to share with us. The title of the segment is Trend Spotting Amongst International Participants. And then we'll come back and wrap it up and close it off with Alessio and myself. But let's get underway then with our very first segment of the session. And we welcome MArian Sanchez Vidal joining us from Valencia. And MArian's going to share a Valencia case study. Welcome, MArian. Are you on screen? Could you turn your camera on for us, please?
Hi, everyone.
There you are.
Thanks for
Wonderful
having us.
to see you. I'm going to go and hide in the background and leave it to you. We practiced your slides before, so I'm sure they will come up, but I'll see you at the end of your segment. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Chris. Well, hi, everyone. I'm going to go into, give me a minute. We get on this. Here we go. Good morning, good afternoon, good night to everyone. Obviously, thanks for being part of this webinar. Chris, Alessio, thanks for having us from Valencia Marathon and Valencia Running Project. And I'm going to go quick, first of all, to welcome you all to Valencia. Obviously, whenever, I know many of you have already been around here, and it will be lovely to have you back. And for those that you haven't still not been here, it will be great having you. So let's go into the basic case. What is Valencia Travelrun? You have our both dates for this year's event, half marathon in October, 1st December marathon. And basically, we're going to go into what we have been doing in the last 10 years, which was when Valencia Running was created. Basically, it was created to provide the coverage to all the elite and amateur running events held in the city. And its main is to consolidate the city as an international spot among running events, both elite and amateur, as we already said. So what is tourism got to do with everything in Valencia Running? Well, we created Welcome to Valencia, which is a touristic project held inside Valencia the Running, and which is powered by branch Transvia Sport, which we are a touristic partner inside the organization of Valencia Marathon. And basically, we are in charge of creating this 360 running experience event, handling all needs for organizations, for amateur and elite runners, and having all what the experiences so is going to be creating. The objectives, we are mainly, first of all, runners are one of our main objectives, organization and the city as a project. We have been working basically in solving and having a specific need created during this day of our runners, creating this harmonic touristic product among all the city, and equally offered by all the hotels and obviously all other touristic products that are part of the project. With the organization, we basically secure all the requirements that are requested by the assistance and the organization needs, collaborators that are part of the events, and so obviously, as we always say, elite runners are one of the main spots also to take care of them. And all this contributes into a project of the city in which we have been not working only from organization and from Valencia Running, but creating a highly permanent spot of the tourism among the organization, touristic, publicly creating the private touristic area, the council and touristic council, and specifically some projects that are just working on sport events and all the private area of the city. How do we go into this creation of 360-degree touristic product? Well, basically, first of all, synergy is the most important thing for us. Having always developed synergy between the organization, city council, all the touristic establishments and the hotels, and official guides and other touristic services that may be needed and offered during all the time. So I'm going to go inside specifically how did we create this. The main thing is we are online as everyone worldwide nowadays. We created our own website development in which we gather 4 main issues that we have to have in any online service. We gather a space in which we upload all the display of the product that are offered to runners and clients that come into the Valencia Marathon and half marathon. And in a manner, we make these services to gather all in the same place and be organized so that just runners have all in their same hand and just don't have to go up and down looking for anything. We access directly to final customers, but we also have a restricted access with a specific contract for all the idols that are welcome to come into our events and obviously having their specific conditions. We create an image, as you have seen, and you will see now in the next slide. We create an image of the official Benfenati Run website, in which everything that the runner sees from the moment they get inside the website of the organization until they finish their creation package with iTools or either through the website, they see all the time the same image. So it's a complete service under the organization's product. And basically inside there, all customers are able to book, pay, and submit all the documents that they are going to be needing for their traveling experience. You can check later on the website. I'll leave you here the websites and the official product as it's detailed. You can happily check later, and you have any doubts, obviously you can also ask me later when we finish on with the presentation. What do we show in this website? Well, basically we gather insights among 65, 70 hotels with specific contracts. We gather also activities and visits that may be offered, restaurants, transport services that may be done with agreements with airlines and train companies. And all this is basically inside an organized package, which can be directly booked through iTools, which they obviously have all the same product that we're going to explain later in the next slides. And most important, we have to offer always an offline assistance, which is basically both website on our email and on our phone calls, phone contacts, same as an emergency contacts for last minutes of the events. Well, at this point, you may think we can create a website. Anyone can create a website nowadays. What do we have specifically for our runners here? Well, all the products that we negotiate with all the hotels and touristic services are adapted to the runners. In which case, in hotels, we create all our contracts under these conditions you see right now in slide. There is a late checkout confirmed always until 4 o'clock, so that all our runners can be with no fuss on the day of the race, just think about running and have great time after the race. We create and we include a free shuttle transfer from the hotels to the start line and back to the hotel after the finish line. We adapt, obviously, breakfasts in all hotels starting around 5:36, depending on the start time of the race. There is also a free cancellation possibility in case there is an injury. As we all know, as runners, most of us, this happens. And it's tough when you cannot go and run to the city you wanted to go. So we do have that possibility also. Apart, obviously, if there is a free gym access, bottle of water is always inside the rooms of clients so that they have hydration just on the last days confirmed and no problem with it. And obviously some hotels, and they can offer their extra services, which are depending on what they have on their product, usual product. And we have all this put together also into a welcome pack that all runners receive when they arrive to their check-in at the hotel. They receive an envelope with a welcome letter, a reminder of all the extra values that they have, and also last information such as the transfer times and this last minute info that it's important to give everyone. How do we manage this transportation? Because we are speaking about 35,000 runners event in case of marathon. We do have to manage this with our own fleets, around 480 buses. We don't use all of them, obviously, for this same dates. It depends on the needs of all the events. As so we remember, Benfenati running has various events, not just marathon, but it's one of the most important. And basically, we have two products which all runners appreciate, having them taking them from the hotel just from your same hotel to the start line and back again after, and having also a transport apart from public services that the city offers, specific transport that takes them from the city, various spots on the city to the expo and back again. Another really important, I have to say, issue that we work all year long with the hotel establishments is that we gather with them, obviously, many meetings, and we try them to customize everything that they can inside their hotels. And you can see in these photos, if you have already been in Valencia, you will have already seen them. All workers in the hotels that are part of the project have their t-shirts, official t-shirts of New Balance. In this case, for marathon, is what you're looking at with I don't know if you can read it from here, but it's saying "Welcome to Valencia" also. So the first thing that runners are going to see when they arrive is that hotels are absolutely thinking of the event they are coming to and what they are going to need about. You can see some photos also around here of other products that are delivered to the hotels. We create some maps, as you can see on the right-hand side, some maps of the city in which we indicate some like last shake-up run routes that clients go for, and all the hotels that are around their area, so that they have as easy as possible all the information. Everyone can Google, obviously, but it's really important for us that they see that value, that hotels are thinking on that. And it's a work, as I said before, it's synergy all year long to create this product when your clients or when other clients arrive and just see that the city is thinking about them. Some other examples, they customized all the open areas of the hotels. That is basically what each hotel wants to do. We encourage them and we help them, obviously, if they need anything about images, videos. They create what, because we have to say we have lovely marketing departments that are really thinking on it and are thinking about the event. So they just create the experience inside their hotel also. And it's not just on what they are going to see, your runners are going to see, but what is exactly what they are going to feel when they speak with them. Those same people that are working in hotels, from directors to reception, to account departments, anyone in the hotel, we encourage them also during the year to have a running challenge with us. So I imagine you already know what we want with this. We basically offer them to run one of the races that we offer, 10K, 21 or 42K. And with this, we basically want to have that understanding of runners' needs from firsthand. It's really beautiful when we can see that reception workers are already running and they are receiving our marathon clients and just ask them about their race or ask them about how they are feeling. That makes a lot of difference. And it's something that we really think it's super important to have that cohesion, not only between all the events, but also between the hotels, one with each other and the sector. Photos you saw here basically are all the training events that we are having from September until January every year. And I don't know if you can see in their faces, but obviously it's something that many of them have been doing for first time, and it makes a big change on the way that they are afterwards having their assistant to clients in the hotels. We also work all year long with hotels on an analysis and an evolution of what has been going on during the event. We have an audition on the hotel services after we receive, obviously, the client surveys results. And this helps us also to incorporate every year new services and develop new needs. I'm going to go into a quick example. We have been having on the last 2 years the needs of many people that cannot arrive on the same expo days to pick up their bib. there has been created a service that clients can request directly to have their bibs delivered inside the hotel room that they have been booking. So that's one of the requests that we have been receiving in the last years, and we included since 2 years ago. And it's really a nice issue that obviously not everyone is going to use, but it's going to be like this, the service that some of them need when they have a problem, when flight don't arrive in the time, and these touristic situations we all know that sometimes happen, obviously. So I would love to welcome you, as I said before, to Valencia. If you have any questions you want to ask about, feel free right now to comment on me, and you have also our contact there. You can contact us for any specific needs, questions that you may have afterwards. So thanks for having us.
Thanks so much, MArian. So many great insights, and really no accident that Valencia has grown to the level that it has. Clearly lots of planning, all the details really taken consideration of. Just let's wait a couple of minutes to see if there's any, or maybe a minute or so, to see if there's any comments or questions in the chat. There's a message from Louise McCormack. Thanks, MArian. Super interesting. Neil Kigor, thank you. I don't see any questions there at the moment, but let's just hang on and just see if there's any. I know you specifically built your presentation to be able to answer questions if there are any, but I'm not seeing any at the moment. Anyway, I think, MArian, you're going to be staying on and watching the rest of the show. So if anybody's got questions they want to put them in there, please put them on. But I'll finish up by saying thank you so much. Very insightful. I'm sure many great lessons for other events around the globe. Thanks for making the time. Great to see you again.
Thanks for having us. Thanks.
Thanks, MArian. As we move on to our first panel of the day, which is what runners are looking for when they travel and how is the market changing. Just waiting to get all the speakers up, but as we do that, I'll introduce them. Joining us from Rome, we have Lorenzo Benfenati, who's the Senior Project Manager, Chairperson Rome, the marathon. Joining us, there you are. I see you on screen already. Ciao, Lorenzo, how are you?
Ciao. Fine. Hello. What about you guys?
Wonderful. Good. Love your backdrop there. Wonderful. I'll come back to you in a moment. Joining us from Rio de Janeiro, delighted to be joined by Elisabet Olival, who's the Director of Kamel Turismo. Hi, Bet.
Hello, everyone. Good morning from sunny Rio. And nice to be here with all of you. It's very interesting.
Wonderful to have you joining us. Looking forward to coming back and having some conversations with you shortly. Also joining us from South America, Armaando Girello, who's the General Director, Travelrun Chamonix, and he's joining us from Sao Paulo.
Hello,
Hi, Armaando.
everyone. Hello, everyone. Chris, how are you? Nice to hear from you. Even through MArian. MArian is excellent. Very nice destination. Ciao Lorenzo, buongiorno, tutto bene? Okay, let's go.
Wonderful to see you. Thank you. Thank you.
And
finally, we're joined from Lehlohonolo, Makaja, who is the founder of Dreambib. Hello, Lehlohonolo. Wonderful to see you again. You're joining us from Gaborone in Botswana.
Thank you, Chris. Once again, I'm happy to see you again, and I'm happy to be in the presence of this wonderful and amazing expertise. I'm excited to learn and share a little bit about Dreambib. Thank you so much.
Yeah, really looking forward to hearing your stories. I know you've just got back with a tour group from Dubai, but let's on our panel, we've got I guess a 3-1 split. We've got 3 people in the tour operations space, and we've got 1 in the race space from Rome. So why don't we start in that space with you, Lorenzo, and you know, some amazing figures and statistics. So in 2021, you had 50% foreign participants. That grew to 60% in 2023, and you seem to be on track for 70% foreign participants in 2024, which seems almost unprecedented in races around the world. Give us a little bit of an insight in terms of how you've made that happen, please.
Well, good question. Well, you know, we are the new organizer because, as you said, we organized Rome Marathon for 3 years. Because Rome Marathon is a marathon owned by the municipality. We won a tender, and our first edition had to be on 2020, March 2020. But you know what happens in 2020, so we were on COVID period, and we have to postpone the events on 2021. But not in the springtime, always because COVID. We postponed in September 2021. So we were in Italy, we were in very bad still in a bad situation, and it was our first new edition, the edition of the new group of organizer, and we get a good results in terms of foreigners guys. But it was a sort of starting point. After 5 or less than 6 months, in March 2022, we had the chance to organize the second one edition, and we saw a significant increase in number of participants in general, and above all of foreigners. Then in March 2023, when we have at least 1 year of time, 12 months of work in international market with promotion, with other marathon, we had the chance to be in the international expo, in Italian one, but also in international. We have the chance to increase a lot the number of participants, and above all the foreigners one. This year, in a couple of months, we will probably break the wall of the 18,000 participants with the 60-70% at the end of foreigners. And for a marathon that hasn't got the fixed number of bibs, so we're still open. We think we have a very good results, and I think the only way, probably the best way is people love Rome, and we try only to push the Rome brand all over the world. We wanna emphasize the different quality of the new organizer respect of the previous organizer. So a good quality, and the city of Rome that you can visit when you run and you take part in our events. And it's probably one of the best city in the world also to get part in a marathon. So probably that is one of the best main point that help us to be very interesting in the entire market.
Your marketing and your outreach, and as you said, that iconic city of Rome.
Yeah.
It's a mix of all of those.
Exactly.
Yeah. Great. Let's thank you for that. We'll certainly come back to you. Lehlohonolo, and interested to hear about runners from other parts of the world coming to Africa. But tell us a little bit about your journey, that you've just brought a group to Dubai. What are the kind of things that runners are looking for out of Africa when they go? And obviously we've had, for decades now, the elite runners out of Africa, but you're now talking the recreational runners, the people going looking for experiences. What is it that they're looking for when they go traveling with an organization like Dreambib?
Thank you very much, Chris. It's interesting. What is happening in Africa is interesting, actually. We are seeing an exponential growth in the number of casual runners who are participating in global races. And all of this can be attributed to a number of things. For someone to take a deliberate decision to participate in an international race abroad, and if they decide to go with a tour operator like Dreambib, what they're actually buying is, number one, first and foremost, is the convenience. We're talking about the convenience of information. As a tour operator, I need to be able to provide the information about activities, currency exchanges, cultural shocks, laws, all those things. So they don't have to go and look for that information themselves on the internet. We're talking about we can attribute the growth also to the affordability. And affordability can mean two things. It can mean lower pricing, and it can also mean flexible payment plans. So what we do in Dreambib is we try to we try to provide those flexible payment plans so that our participants can spread their payments over a period of time, as opposed to paying a lump sum. So that has given us great numbers. And then also we are talking about convenience in terms of assurance. If we don't have a lot of Africans, or rather from Botswana, we don't have a lot of, we actually, Botswana doesn't even have a 6-star finisher. And this can all be attributed to the fact that we don't have a tour operator who is associated with the main races, the London, the Berlin, the Tokyo. And this is what Dreambib is actually aspiring to. These are the services that Dreambib is actually aspiring to. So once we can give that assurance and somebody is able to know that Dreambib is the one that they can go to for booking those races. So then also there is the convenience of location. Where are these races happening? Most people have a preference to races that are happening in prime tourist areas. Like, for example, we just came from Dubai. Dubai is well known globally as a tourism hotspot. So we've had participants who actually went there with their families because it was an opportunity to bring your children to, outside of just running, you're also able to explore Dubai, you are able to do a whole lot of different activities. So they use that as the opportunity to, they use our running packages as the opportunity to visit those places. So Africa in general, or I'd rather say Botswana, we are seeing a very exponential growth in terms of the number of participants that are growing, that are going to races abroad. And also having Cape Town as a candidate for the world majors, it's having a reverse effect. Now people are wondering, what are the world majors? It's Berlin, it's Tokyo. Now the information is, it keeps coming, and now they want to be part of that movement where they collect those 6 stars. So in a nutshell, that's what I would say is attributing to the number of people and Africans who are doing races abroad. Thank you.
Head across to Rio, and Bet, I'd love to hear from you. What are some of the trends that you're seeing? I'm interested in trends not only in terms of where your runners from Brazil and Latin America are wanting to go, but what's happening with people coming down to Brazil because you have a big and mature running scene there.
Yeah, the trends in Brazil are everything related to running. This is a fashion situation. Everybody wants to run from the north to the south, from the east to the west in Brazil. Even the northeast of Brazil, that the weather is not very convenient for running because of it's very hot. But everybody is running sports like it's a trend, right? But you just put a pair of sneakers on your foot and run. This is a sport which allows everybody to run. It's all over the world, of course. And for instance, from close to travel, small races, consultancy, everything, books about the runners' experience, and even Instagrammers. For you to have an idea, there are some Instagrammers that opened Instagrammers with majors.brazil, superhalves.brazil. It's something. Yeah. Okay. And people sometimes, the runners sometimes believe that they are the officials in Brazil, but they are not. And yes, so I believe the same trends in Brazil are the same all over the world, because everybody is feeling that running is become more and more trend, right? And that's it. What do you think, Armaando, in São Paulo, for instance? What is your experience and your opinion?
Hi, Beth. Hello. Yes, I had something about what you told. They are increasing. You know that you are for almost 35 years in business and running a lot of marathons, leading a lot of groups, different groups for all kinds of people. And we know that when we started in New York, and you remember at the time of Tapsitum, the time of Mr. Joseph, we were 10, 15 people going to New York today we have not enough entries to bring to all the people that wants to go to New York, to Chicago, everywhere. So I think the trend is that correct. People in Brazil are running a lot. People in Brazil are looking for more and more races. Of course, mainly the majors. Now they are super halves. I think it's a good project. But even for, like MArian told, Valencia is now one of the races like Rome used to be more wished. So I think the market in Brazil will not stop. After the pandemic, we felt that marketing grew up again and double. I mean, for the next year, I think it's gonna be at least 30-40% more than this year. So I'm grateful that I can tell you of this trend.
So in terms, thank you both of you for that. So it's booming there. You spoke about the majors, you spoke about the super hubs, you spoke about Valencia. What are some of the other trends you're seeing? Are people going to trail running, which is growing? Are they going? Are they, you know, having been focused on the major destinations? Are they now starting to explore Asia? Brazilians, where, you know, what are the kind of markets they're going to? We've got obviously lots of race organizers on the call tonight. You know, where do Brazilians want to go, and how can those race organizers tap into that big boom to bring them to the likes of? I see Lorenzo nodding there. I'm sure you're getting plenty of Brazilians in Rome, but you know, what do race organizers need to do, and where are Brazilian runners wanting to go and explore?
Yeah, they want to, in my opinion, they want to explore Brazil, because we have now many runners events in Brazil, from 5K, 10K, half marathon, and also trail runs all over the world. The UTMB, for instance, is a great event, but unfortunately, they do not have a program to international tour operators. But I used to sell them before the pandemic, and it was a very success. But nowadays, they do not have. And around the world, of course, for instance, the Rome Marathon, I didn't realize that the next year will be the 30th anniversary. So, of course, we will promote it because people would like to go. And Africa and Asia, Tokyo, for instance, and in Africa, South Africa for the two oceans. Actually, the names of the big marathons names, right? And in South America, we have like Buenos Aires, we have Chile, the Santiago del Chile Marathon. But unfortunately, this time, I believe they are not well prepared to offer for internationals, because sometimes they change the date like 2 months before the date. So how can we work in a situation like that? But of course, good race, good destinations, and people want, according to their way of capacity to pay. For instance, they go to everywhere, from Brazil to all over the world. That's it.
Yeah.
And we are here to facilitate them to travel. Of course, from packets, from 3-night packets to 4, 6, 7 nights, an extension package, everything.
Yeah, I just want to add something what Beth told. I think Brazil, the market of Brazilian people, they start to run because now as I told you, we have a growing our people running. Mainly the female people. Because in 30 years ago, you need to search where are the female people. Now the female people, I think, is almost half and half running. So it's a nice thing. They found women found what a nice is run. So I think people start to run 5K, 10K, and when they are able to run races like 21K, they started to think about the majors. It's the first thing that they think. I wanna take my mandala. I wanna do all the 6 majors. Then answer you, Chris. Which are the best market after majors? Because this is the point where we have to think. That's why we start to promote like Rome, like Valencia, like Tokyo, no, but anywhere. So people that did the 6 majors, they want to go to another place, even bringing people to Brazil. So we work also for Rio de Janeiro Marathon, for São Paulo Marathon, for Uphill Marathon. It's like a marathon that go up to the hill. It's a difficult way. So we bring people for other countries. For example, for our neighbors, Argentina, Uruguay, Paraguay, they come to Brazil through us to run these races. So we have to promote. And just to finalize, I think the organizers has to think a little bit more. It's not a claim. It's not a claim for New York or for everyone, for Lorenzo or for MArian, but I think they have to think a little bit more how they can make important the partnership of the tour operators, because most of the people that want to go to anywhere, they think I wanna like to be drowned. I don't want to go to tour operator. Why? Because, of course, first of all, the registration, they pay more for us, for ITOs, regularly, maybe unless this year Berlin, but they pay more for us instead of if they are drowned. And the other thing, I have to go where you want to. I go. No. You have to go wherever you want, but. They don't like us. Some people don't like us as a tour operator, So it's just a comment that I would like to leave to all the tour operators and the organizers to think a little bit more about. So I don't know if I was clear to you.
Thank you, Armaando. Let's on that. There's a question I see in the chat from Tracy Sunderland, and it says, should an event work with only one tourist company per country, or open it to any tourist company in a country that wants to bring runners to your race? Let's bring that to you, Lorenzo. What's your sense around that?
Well, we have different proposal. It depends for the tour operator. If, for example, if we have a tour operator in a single country that make a good deal with us, so pre-buy a lot of bibs, we geo-block that market. Instead, in other cases, for example, in France or other country, we're still open. We give the chance to different tour operator to work with us and to do their services, to offer their services, fly, accommodation, and so on, and our bibs. So without working just with one in an exclusivity way. It depends. It depends for a single country or so on. We know, I take some notes from Armaando's suggestion. We know that tour operator, for example, with us, we can do it better. But we know also we are an open event, and when we will be able to have a close number of bibs, I'm pretty sure we can be much more interesting for for tour operator in general. Now it's not so easy because we are more or less still open until the data of event data. So we have the chance to sell directly bib to the market until the last day. But we think that in the future, in a couple of editions, we will probably have can be more interesting for tour operator in general.
Chris, can I highlight something? taking the opportunity that we have some organizers here, I believe, in my opinion, that the organizers of the marathon, that not the organizers of the marathon, but the organizers that offer entries to the tour operators, I think they have to be more carefully to choose which tour operators will work in each country, because there are many, many new tour operators that don't even know anything about tourism. They don't even have any kind of slightest of ethic situation, you know. So it's very important to put this on this situation, so that the organizers put the paying attention of this situation and make more search about which tour operators is asking for entries, which tour operators is asking for package tours, because sometimes they ask for many, many entries, but when we arrive at the destination, they do not have any kind of services for runners, you know. That's it.
Oh, look, I think that's wonderful feedback. Let's give Lehlohonolo an opportunity to come back into the conversation. And I see there's a question also from Tracy. Hello there, Tracy. Great to see you online. The question is, how big are the group? What sort of size of runners are you taking? And I'm interested to know how many of that group, when you answer the question, how many of them are runners and how many of them are supporters? Is there a kind of an accepted ratio that every runner travels with one or two or however many other people? But yeah, what's your take on that, Lehlohonolo?
Interesting question. Actually, I would say from all the tours that we have done recently, 90% of all the participants are not runners. And that has given us a task to retain them, because the thing is, earlier on when I spoke about the convenience of information, nobody decides to participate in a race in Dubai or Dubai Marathon without having seen something. It could be a flyer, it could be a communique on Facebook, it could be anything, any kind of communication that exposes the participants to the information about Dubai Marathon. So what we do is we package those, as tour operators, we package those races. And then once the information is then readily available, that's when somebody can take a deliberate intention to book. So most of the people who book are people who have not really been exposed to traveling outside of the continent, but they see it as a readily made package, and they say, you know what, I'm going to Dubai, I'm just paying 1,000 USD, and these are the activities that I'm going to do. So it cuts away the stress of going to the internet and opening 20 tabs and trying to figure out, what do I do, for which hotel do I book in, what activities do I participate in after the race, before the race, what restaurants do I eat in? But the advantage, adding into Armaando, what Armaando was saying earlier, the advantage of going with a tour operator is that everything is centralized. And as you, going to your question about how many people, well, 90% of the people who participate in our races, they are not runners, but they look at the package and they find it attractive. And then they say, maybe I can run 4 kilometers. They come to Dubai Marathon, they run 4 kilometers. Going back to Botswana, that experience of running, it becomes the main thing now, as opposed to the tourist attractions, the desert, everything that the normal traditional tourist attractions. So the running, because it's more experiential, you know, nowadays people want to experience, they don't just want to see. So that experience, it motivates somebody to go back home and say, you know what, I want to become a runner. I have so many runners who did 4 kilometers in Dubai. Now they want me to put them into a program where they train to become 10-kilometer runners. After 10-kilometer runners, they become 21 kilometers runners. From there on, they become, they start aspiring for the majors, Paris, all these big races. So as you were saying, the big task on my end, and this is an extended service that we are going to provide as Dreambib. We are going to say all the participants who are not runners before participating in Dubai Marathon or any race, we are going to retain them. We're going to put them on a training program. From here on, we're going to give them the information about training, about fuel, about nutrition, about dietary. And it also works for us because from that on, we'll be able to retain a market that otherwise we wouldn't have had. So I hope that answers your question. Thank you.
Hi, Alessio here. Let me get in while Chris tries to fix the issue. I didn't prepare for this panel, but having worked at the Rome Marathon, I certainly have questions for the Rome Marathon. I apologize to the other panelists for not paying enough attention to their perspective, but my question right now can only be for Lorenzo really. Lorenzo, how do you promote the race overseas? Why don't you guide us through the journey? What do you do at each time of the year? Event minus 6 months, event minus 3 months. Can you give us an overview of that?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Alessio. Well, you know, our main idea is to do an event, not only a single day event. You know, marathon is a huge single day events plus expo, more or less 3 or 4 days events. But we want to consider this event as a long journey, as a long trip, maybe 12 months, 365 days per year. So we try to add any month any ancillary events, training events, events in the local territory, because we know we have got a lot of Italian guys, a lot of Roman and guys. So we want to keep on going the Rome marathon mood in all the months before the marathon. Then in the autumn period, so that's a key moment for our international promotion, we decide 5-6 big marathon to be there with in their expo village, because that's the main for us. We think that is the main way to promote our events abroad, because we have the right target there. And so this year, for example, me directly, I went to Valencia. That is a wonderful event. I congratulate with Valencia organized, because it was my first time there, and they saw an event really beautiful, well organized, in a completely synergy with the organizer and the municipality. So we learn a lot there. So we went in Valencia, we went in Athens, went to Amsterdam, many races, and then the expo or the other marathon for us was the key marketing promotion. Then we have to be able to create quality on social network and with the long storytelling. That the other points we are trying to do as in the right way. Because we have a new social content creator, and we are trying to be always capable to create interesting content, interesting things for marketing in general. So social network and international expo, that's are the two main topics to promote Rome Marathon.
Online, offline. I see the things
online,
have changed
offline, yeah.
Since my days. Thank you.
Thank you, Alessio, for jumping in for me. I'm back on. Apologies there. We got some gremlins in the system. Folks, we could talk for plenty more time, but unfortunately, we've got to move on to the next segment. There are a couple of questions that we didn't get to in the chat. There was one from Steve. There's one there from Habib in Saudi Arabia. I think if the panelists would like to jump on and respond to those questions directly, but just a big virtual round of applause. Lorenzo, Armaando, and Lehlohonolo, and Bet, thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for those insights. Wishing you all the best for a very productive and successful 2024. As we move on to our next segment, which is a pre-recorded segment, which I think is going to be fascinating for many people. It's exploring macro trends in the Chinese running scene. Alessio was recently in Xiamen and saw Weihong Tang speaking and invited her to join us. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to join us, but she's done a wonderful professionally produced in a studio segment for us. It's about a 20-minute segment. Weihong Tang, who's on the supervisory board of the People's Daily Online. She was also the Chinese Marathon Figure of the Year in 2017. I'm going to disappear and let you sit back and watch this recorded segment for 20 minutes. Macro trends in the Chinese running scene.
Hello, everyone. I'm Weihong Tang from China. I'm a media professional and an avid runner. I would like to thank Mr. Alessio Punzi, Hand of Running and Mass Participation at World Athletics, for inviting me to participate in the road race webinar discussion. Thank you, Mr. Chris Robb, for your question. It's an honor to share some insights about Chinese road running and of runners. Regarding road running in China, particularly in 2023, the terms that immediately come to mind are quantity and speed. First, let's talk about quantity. In 2023, Chinese road running events rapidly recovered, with races of all levels popping up and growing fast. The numbers tell the story. China held a total of 580 road running events in 2023, and 308 of these were officially certified by the China Athletic Association. The second aspect to consider is the number of participants. In 2023, sign-ups and turnout for China's top marathon events generally surpassed capacity, setting new records. For instance, the 2023 Guangzhou Marathon, designed for 30,000 runners, saw over 114,000 registrations. The Shanghai Marathon saw even more, with over 170,000 people sign up. As a result, these big races had to resort to lotteries, which made securing a sport quite tough. But if you don't get lucky in the draw, there were plenty more races to choose from. Last year, many cities hosted a variety of events: 4 marathons, half marathons, rides for parents and kids, fun runnings, and health runnings, suitable for runners of all levels. These races are great for encouraging people to get active and stay fit. In 2023, I not only participated in marathons in big cities like Xi'an and Tianjin, but also in several small and medium-sized cities, including district and county level events such as the Beijing Tongzhou Marathon and the marathon in Dachang County, Hebei Province. These experiences were great. It's clear that more and more people in China are getting into running, and the quality of races across the country is getting better. Regarding speed, 2023 was a year of remarkable breakthroughs in China's marathon scene. On March 19th, at the Wuxi Marathon, He Jie and Yang Shaohui shattered the nearly 16-year-old Chinese men's marathon record with times of 2 hours, 7 minutes and 30 seconds, and 2 hours, 7 minutes and 49 seconds, respectively. October 5th, He Jie clinched the men's marathon gold at the Hangzhou Asian Games with a time of 2 hours, 30 minutes and 2 seconds. It was a historic first for the Chinese athletics team at the Asian Games. Then on December 3rd, at the Fukuoka Marathon, Yang Shaohui set a new Chinese national record of 2 hours, 7 minutes, and 9 seconds. He became the first Chinese runner to finish in 2 hours and 7 minutes twice. With these achievements, China's marathon scene has entered the 2:07 era. At the same time, the speed of everyday runners is also getting better. In the 2023 Beijing Marathon, an impressive 2,402 runners finished in less than 3 hours, setting a new record in China for the most runners doing so in a single marathon. This shows that finishing a marathon in under 3 hours has become a big target for both organizing and measuring the success of marathon for the general public in China. Additionally, when I talk about speed, I think it's also worth mentioning the rapid development of China's high-speed rail network. By the end of 2023, China's railways covered 159,000 kilometers, with 45,000 kilometers of that being high-speed rail. This might not seem related to running at first, but it actually is. The convenience and accessibility of transportation means that office workers like me can easily fit both work and running competitions into our schedules. Last year, I ran in 4 full marathons and more than 10 half marathons. I live and work in Beijing. It takes me 4 hours to reach Shanghai and a bit more than 4 hours to get to Xi'an by high-speed trains, which run as fast as 350 kilometers per hour. I travel to various parts of the country for these races. I usually leave early Saturday morning, get to the race location by plane or high-speed rail, and then head back to Beijing on Sunday, right after the race. This also indicates that the rapid growth of Chinese road running events is deeply intertwined with the development of China's economy and society. Mr. Rob asked a thoughtful question about how China can use its rich history and culture in road running events to draw in more runners from other countries. It's a great question. I think the strong cultural heritage of China really shines through in our marathons, especially in the selection of race rules and the unique designs of the medals. Marathons, more so than sports like basketball and football, really capture the spirit of the cities they pass through. The 42.195 kilometers of a marathon can fully showcase a city's unique style and cultural history. In this respect, China, with its vast territory, long history, and diverse culture, has a lot to offer. When choosing marathon routes, many cities include places that are culturally important, highlighting local features in the race's overall plan and visual design. For instance, let's consider the Xi'an Marathon I ran in 2023. It took place in Xi'an, Shanxi province, which is well known for the Direcor warriors. The race route past many famous history landmarks. We ran past the city walls, the Bell Tower, East Street, Diamond Palace National Heritage Park, and the Xi'an International Convention and Exhibition Center. Running here, you could really feel the mix of old and new, the history of an ancient capital of 13 dynasties combined with the lovely modern side of northwest China's premier city. It was an experience I will always remember. I also ran in the Shaoxing International Marathon, often called the Cultural Marathon by Chinese runners. Shaoxing City in Zhejiang Province has a rich history of over 2,500 years and is known for many famous history figures. The marathon's route takes the runners past the homes of these celebrated individuals. The medals are also specially designed. Each year, the organizers picked a cultural figure from Shaoxing to theme the race. In 2023, it was Lu You, a famous point from the Southern dynasty. The competition medals featured Lu You's beloved plum blossomed and two of his poems, emphasized his love for his country and his distinct style. This made the medals instant collector's items. I also took part in the Hangzhou Marathon, famous for the saying, "Heaven above, Suzhou and Hangzhou below." Running by the beautiful West Lake was like being in a Chinese painting. During the race, many places gave out vouchers. Runners could get cheap tickets to local sites by showing their race number. They could also use public transport, like the subway, for free or at a lower price. Many other cities also offered discounts to attract more runners. Some competitions even launched local events like Ford Festival and expos, showing off their region's culture. A common thing among Chinese runners is run a marathon and fall in love with a city. For runners from other countries, visiting China for a marathon is a great idea. The world's six slums are highly regarded among Chinese runners. Many of my friends are training hard, aiming to meet the BQ and participate the Boston Marathon. I ran the Tokyo Marathon in 2019 and had an unforgettable, fantastic experience. In the future, I hope to join more marathons abroad. On marathon tracks in China, I do see some international runners, but not many. I think this may be because they don't know much about it. Many runners from other countries still don't realize that China hosts many great races and that there are many cities here worth running and visiting. As media professionals, we need to do more to spread the word. Besides Chinese, People's Daily Online also published in 15 foreign languages and has 14 overseas branches and offices. In June 2023, to mark the 45th anniversary of the China-Japan Peace and Friendship Treaty, the 2023 Beautiful Countryside China-Japan Youth Happy Run event, co-organized by People's Daily Japan, was successfully held in Japan. Over 100 Chinese and Japanese teenagers ran together. On the same day, we also hosted a China-Japan Youth Exchange Conference where attendees enjoying Chinese calligraphy and tea art performances fostering interaction and exchange between Chinese and Japanese youth. In 2018 and in 2019, People's Daily Online facilitated the participation of China runners in metro races and cultural exchanges in South Korea and Japan. Marathons and other road running events are great ways to strengthen cultural exchange and mutual understanding between civilizations. We hope to further enhance our collaborations with all involved parties, using marathons and sports as a bridge to foster greater exchanges and cooperation between China and other countries. On January 5th, I took part in the 2024 Road Race Sustainable Development Forum in Xiamen, China. There, I presented a research report on the high-quality development of road race in China in 2023, written by the People's Daily Online Research Institute. My colleagues and I researched and analyzed 50 regular and 10 renewal competitions held in China in 2023. We gathered insights through various methods, including participating in events and interview experts. The report highlights the characteristics and practices of the top 10 competitions in China for 2023, offering a valuable resource for those looking for understanding the current state of running in China. The full report is available online, and I welcome everyone to check it out. I look forward to seeing more international runners on China's marathon tracks in the new year. Welcome to China.
Let's move on to the next segment, and we'll do that by welcoming onto the screen Mr. Mingrui Du, who's the CEO of ZX42195. He's currently in Bangkok, usually in China, but he's joining us from Bangkok tonight. And he'll be in conversation with Alessio Punzi, the head of road running and mass participation for World Athletics. Hello, Alessio. Thanks for joining us and stepping in. Apologies for the gremlins in the system here. We'll welcome Mr. Du, who I know is on screen, and I'll leave you to have the conversation with him.
So Mingrui Du, thank you for being with us today. I have to admit that despite having been to China several times, there you are. Now we can see your face.
Oh,
welcome.
Yeah.
Until a few days ago, really, we didn't know each other, and we've never met in person either. But I was referred to you by some mutual friends, some marathon organizers, who told me that you were quite active in bringing Chinese runners overseas. And then when we exchanged emails at the beginning and you presented me the company, I was pretty blown away, really, by the breadth and scope of activities that your company does. We started with these road race webinars maybe 3 years ago during the pandemic. And especially for these sessions that are less about regulations and more about the broader running industry, one guiding principle for me has always been, what kind of curiosities do I have? What kind of questions would I ask you over a beer or at breakfast in the morning regarding your business? So here we are. I'm going to ask you a few questions about the business of incoming and outgoing running events in China. But first, let's start with an introduction of you and your company. When did you create the company, and when did you realize that there was a business case for this in your country?
Actually, next Tuesday is my birthday. And also it's my company's 10 years anniversary. Next Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So actually I started this company since 10 years ago. Yeah.
So,
but since, yeah.
Sorry.
Please.
So right at the beginning of the revival of Chinese marathon.
Yes, because actually I was in the outdoor industry before, like fighting mountaineering. I was in charge of some brands for all the Asia market. But actually, like more than 15 years ago, when I do the outdoor industry business, then I realized for the other countries, after outdoor business popular, then the next trend is running. So I decided that I should start the running business. So it's since 10 years ago, I registered the company for the running industry. But for the running industry, we do not only do for running tours. Even now, running tours is just a very small part of our business for all our running business. Yeah. Yeah. So we all do running merchandising. We have our own running brands. We're also distributing the international running brands to the Asia market, yeah, as well, yeah. So
and focusing only on the running tours, just focusing on the running tours. How many companies like yours would you say that exist in China?
That's so many before.
Not so many.
So many before Travelrun. Actually, since 8 or 6 years ago, all the tour companies realized that's a market. Actually, so all the big tour companies in China, they all started the running tours, but most of them already did. Yeah.
Mingrui, and in your introduction per email, you told me that you have agreements with an incredible number of races. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I think this is a big difference compared with our company to the other marathon tour companies that in European or in USA. I know that for them, the main business is come from the major sets or come from the very limited marathons. But for our companies, we are working with more than 200 running events, over 70 countries. Yeah, so not only that the world major marathons, it's also just a small part of our business. We do lots of events that in Japan, South Korea, even North Korea, also Thailand. Yeah, we do a lot of events near China. Yeah.
And how big is the company? Let's just focus on the running tours side of things. How many employees do you have?
We have 22 for the running tours. That for 2019, we sent more than 10,000 Chinese runners outside China. Yeah.
You said that you have agreements in place with the World Marathon majors. You told me also about UTMB, as well as a number of smaller events. Which are in your portfolio the best-selling events? Which are the events that Chinese marathon runners or Chinese runners in general would prefer to travel to?
So what you refer is the sales number or the sales vendor? You mean the runner numbers or the sales numbers is different?
Both. Give us both. if you can.
For example, for us, the most popular ones is always the one near China, like the Thailand ones or the Japanese ones. For example, for Nagoya women marathon in Japan, just for the women, before we send that more than 1,000 runners here just for one race. But not for Berlin or New York, for Seattle, because we only have limited numbers, not only 100 or 200. We could only send that numbers because we only have that numbers. Yeah, so it's different.
So smaller volumes, more value, maybe with these races, right? You can apply a higher markup, I would think. How long have you been collaborating with the World Marathon major races?
Oh, that's many years. Actually, it's also around 10 years. You know that 10 years ago, I think we are the first company to talk with World Marathon majors to apply the roads. Yeah.
And give us some specifics of the runners, the Chinese runner experience abroad. What is that they, what are the main differences between people coming from China and Western, for the lack of a better word, in how they approach the marathon, in their experience, but also in terms of training, in terms of expectations? How do you tailor your offer specifically to the needs of runners from your country?
You know that China market is very different from the other ones because we have a very, very big runner population. So even now, I guess it's only 0.1% Chinese runners go outside. But even for this 0.1 Chinese runners, we have very different categories. Some runners, they only run World Marathon majors, but some runners, they all look for the special marathons. Also, some runners, they only want to go to the marathons near China, because now in China, as you know, for all the major marathons, we all do lotteries. So it's very, very difficult for the Chinese runners to get the slot for the big marathons in China. So many runners, they prefer to run outside China.
You gave us some very interesting and very promising numbers earlier. So you said that of the general population of Chinese runners, 0.1% have so far participated to one race abroad. How do we know about these numbers? What I know is what the CAA, the Chinese Athletic Association, presented last year in 2023. There were 580 marathons and there were about 5.5 million participants, but this is in official races. Do you have any statistics that you can share with us on the broader Chinese running population?
So I give you an example. As you know that trail running is not belong to the CAA. That for trail running race in China for 2023, we have more than 500 trail running race with a distance more than 100 kilometers. Yeah, even the trail running population is more than 500,000 runners here who already finished more than 50 kilometers. Yeah.
Earlier you said that there are differences in how Chinese versus overseas runners approach races. Can you give us some details, some anecdotes, some particular areas that you pay attention to make sure they get exactly the experience they want?
This is a very big question because you know that we have very, very big numbers of runners. The different runners, they have a very, very different request. You know, for example, you could not believe that for many international running events, their website is not working in China. So even some runners, they want to register some race by themselves. It's not what, because their official website is blocked in China. Also,
and what do you recommend they do? Sorry, go ahead. And then I have a follow-up question. Sorry.
Yeah, also, you know that many Chinese runners, even if they go outside, they know English. Yeah, so it's always a big challenge for many Chinese go abroad because you know for most international runners they speak English, but for most Chinese runners, They don't speak any English. Yeah.
Mingrui, let's assume that I'm the organizer of a marathon which has the potential to attract runners from overseas, right? A beautiful city such as, I don't know, Stockholm or Rome or Athens or Rio de Janeiro. How do I tap into the Chinese running market? How do I promote myself? How do I promote the opportunities that I have, especially if I'm not even sure that my website is usable by Chinese netizens?
So, for the international events to the Chinese, I think the main is that you should find your own special sales point. So I would give you an example. So that for Chiang Mai Marathon in Thailand, Chiang Mai is a very small city of Thailand. Also, Chiang Mai Marathon is a very, very normal marathon. Also, the road, the supply, everything is very just so. But just because that since 10 years ago, we worked together with Chiang Mai, and they do that, they show that it's a very it's a very lifestyle marathon. And also they work together with the Thailand Tourism Office to promote the Chiang Mai city as it's very, it's a very family marathon for the runners to take the family to town. As a vacation marathon. So then, even if it's a very normal marathon, now it's very popular in China. Before, usually we have 2,000 Chinese runners here. Also for some European marathons, like Proj or Paris, they only promote that it's a very fashion city, then it's okay. So besides world marathon majors, for the other marathons, the runners didn't care about so much about the race itself. It's more about the destinations. Destination is the most important for them. But another issue is the date. Because for the Chinese, we have 3 long holidays. Most of the Chinese, they don't have much, their own holiday days. So usually most of the runners, they come outside by the holidays. So that for the first week of October, first week of May, or the middle of January or February. So if you have the marathons in these dates, then it will be very, very attractive for the Chinese.
So I guess, according to what you just said, a race like the Prague Marathon that takes place at the beginning of May, or what do we have at the beginning of November? The New York City Marathon, these are bestsellers of yours, right? Or at least in principle, they can be.
Yeah, for the European marathons, they are always the best-selling ones. Yeah, for the European and American marathons. Yeah.
Do you take lots of runners to trail events overseas? What can you tell us about that side of the market?
Yeah, that's a trend. Now, UTMB is super, super popular in China. Yeah. So, for example, for last month, for the UTMB by Thailand, we have the nearly 1,000 Chinese runners come to here. Yeah. Also, another trend is that now, Chinese boat just reopened, but the economy in China is not good. So now, for the middle class, they don't have so much money. So now, many, many more runners prefer to run just in Asia countries, like in Japan, South Korea, Thailand, Malaysia. But before the corona, many, many runners, they prefer to do European. But now, most runners, they gave up. Also now, the visa is very, very difficult for Chinese to come to European or America.
But I guess this is an area in which your agency does help, right? Facilitating visa procedures, I would think.
Even if we help with, it's not easy. Now it's very difficult for Chinese to get a European or American visa. Yeah.
Couple of final questions. I'm a race organizer and I want to make my race more, let's say, attuned to the taste of the average Chinese marathon runner. I know that it's a gross generalization, country of 1.3 billion people with huge differences. But if I want to make my event more friendly to them, what do I do? Besides having maybe a website in Chinese or a WeChat account, what else can I do?
I think the best way is that for all your race, for your country or for your city, you should have the tourism office in China. You know that now nearly all the tourism offices in China, like Singapore, Australia, America, Japan, or even Thailand, the tourism office in China, they all want to promote the marathon tours in the Chinese market. Because the marathon runners in China are the middle class or even rich people, it's the best targeted customers for the overseas tours. So it's better to talk with your local tourism office to support with you. Also, as you see in Xiamen, taking part in the Marathon Expo is very useful. Or then maybe you work with the agent, like with us. Yeah, because like us, we have a 2 million runners database. So usually we
2 million
have a
runner database.
yeah. So
It's
usually
quite something.
Yeah. We also have our own social media. We also have our EDM system. So when we have some new race, we usually send the email and an SMS to our potential customers. Yeah.
So to wrap up, making sure you have a social presence in China, make sure that you team up with the public authorities that promote tourism in your country. Get the right date if you can, although that's a luxury that very few race organizers have. And final question, which was the most difficult marathon trip that you organized and why?
Oh, you know that our company is so different. We did so many staging marathons. We sent many runners to North Korea, Pakistan, Iran, Somalia, Syria. For example, 2 months ago, my company sponsored the Syria marathons. We sent like around 15 Chinese runners to Syria. Yeah. So we usually do some strange trips here because in China we have many different customers. There are many customers in China. They are looking for the very special marathons. So we do special marathon trips here in many countries. So we deal with many special ones.
Mingrui, our time unfortunately is up, but we really want to do at some point, maybe not the next one, but the one after next, a China-focused webinar. Can you promise you'll be there?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
We have it on record. Thank you for your time today, and over to you, Chris. I'll be with you later for the wrap-up.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Mr. Du, and thank you, Alessio. Fascinating numbers, enormous numbers, amazing insights out of China. I'd like to take the opportunity to welcome, joining us from Lelystad in the Netherlands, Jeroen Bakker, who's the COO of Circular Unity. The topic of the conversation is the elephant in the room, offsetting carbon emissions. As I said in the intro, lots of documentation and research showing that the biggest carbon impact of our events is the travel of inbound participants. And I think we have a great opportunity to be able to find ways to offset that, and delighted that Jeroen's taken the time to join us. Hello, Jeroen, welcome.
Hey, Chris, thank you so much for having us. I hope you can hear me properly.
I can hear you, absolutely, thanks.
All right. So again, thank you very much for having us today. And also a special thanks to Michelle from the Council of Responsible Sports for making the introduction. As Chris said, I'm Jeroen Bakker. I'm the COO of Circular Unity. Yeah. So in order to speak a little bit about the elephant in the room, I first will talk a little bit about what Circular Unity is and what we do, and take you through that. And from there on, we'll move into the offset and why to do that. We start pretty simple. We believe in measure, reduce, and then offset the non-reducible. If we take you through a little bit of the numbers. Sorry, my apologies. I'm a little sick, so I might cough a little bit once in a while. I'll try to keep that to a minimum. So if we look at the numbers, less than 10% of all the companies in the sports industry are measuring their full scope of emissions in scope 1, 2, and 3. This was research done by Carbon Trust in 2022, so I think it would be a little better right now. But in the same year, the Council of Responsible Sports also did a study where they measured that they found out that 4% of all the events in the running sports, less than around 4% is measuring their scope 1, 2, and 3. So in order to go to the next steps of offsetting, etc., measuring is kind of the start for doing so. If we're looking at, I'm not going to go through all the elements of the slides, by the way. I'm going to walk you through this quite quickly, so we can talk a little bit more about the offsetting later in the presentation. But 90% of all admissions for events are in scope 3. That's why it's so important that scope 3 is measured accurately throughout the event. If you're looking, for example, in the hotel industry, from the business side of things, hotels that were formerly performing really well are currently seeing a drop of over 40% in booking rate. If they are, for example, in historical buildings and they cannot isolate properly, you'll see that they don't get their certification. And based on that certification, the corporate clients are not allowed to book with them anymore. So it really does have an effect on business that is in the hotel industry. But we also see a lot of reporting going on already in sports. If we're looking at capital, if you're looking at capital from institutional investors, or if you're looking at capital from sponsors, etc., the large institutional investors signed a UN resolution, and 76% of them agreed that they wouldn't invest in non-sustainable investments. Then, if we're looking at the latest regulations or compliance, we'll see that over 13.5 million companies, and that's just the verticals that we're focusing on. We're focusing on tourism, hospitality, events, sports. That's our core focus. You see that 13.5 million companies will, by the end of 2024, have to report on their sustainability. So that's a huge amount of companies, and we believe that one of the biggest things that we see is there's a lot of fear, that people find it difficult. They don't know exactly where to start. It's a lot of work in teams that already have a lot of things to do, because very often in sports you see that the organizations are very lean. So that's where we came in. Our mission is to make carbon accounting, measuring, benchmarking, reducing, and finally offsetting so easy that every company or organization wants to do it. Not just because it's good for the planet, but also because it's great for business. I think that's kind of speaks for itself. Excuse me. Our vision is to create an industry-specific and automated accounting and benchmarking for GHG protocols. We have to share our wins. We have to share our learnings, our best practices, in order to all together reach net zero success. So we want to make it accurate and simple. Last but not least is what we do. We automate the process of carbon accounting through the most advanced technologies, ensuring the more accurate accounting in a fraction of the time. So no regulatory complexity or risk. Now, this slide I'm going to walk through fairly quickly, because we're going to get back to that a little bit later in the presentation when we really talk about the elephant in the room. So pretty much what we do is we base everything on climate science. On the next slide, I'll talk about that a little bit in more detail, but it will give you a good idea of what we're doing. The automated GHG footprint calculation is in scope 1, 2, and 3, but very specific into the industries that we're focusing on. we see that there's a lot of carbon accounting companies out there, and most likely a lot more are coming in the next couple of years. But they all try to be one shoe fits all. And if you want to do a very good scope 3 calculation, and you want to do that according to emission factors, then it starts to become very, very complex. So we automate that process, and by being so specific for our industries, we can go a lot further in automation. Then we have AI emissions reporting. So to everybody who is in different countries, they have different regulations. Our AI is already trained or will be trained for all regulations in the countries. We already have a couple of countries where it's operational at this moment. And any client that comes on board for a new market, we will make sure that it's trained for your market as well. And then beside that, it's understandable and actionable. How does it work? If you look at the data, we are splitting it up into two different ways of collecting the data. You have the company data, and then you have the external data. If you're looking at the company data, I'm not going to run by all of them, but the IoT is what sets us apart. So if you have a location where you want to measure everything on an ongoing basis, then IoT or sensors, they will automate all the data to our platform. If you have an event which is not on a set location, like one of the runs, then our computer vision is something that automates that information. So you can just photograph or upload photos of some of the data sets, and our AI will then translate that into all your data that you need to do later on. We have an API to your business intelligence platform or your cloud, so we can get a lot of data from there, and all of that is then generated into one big data set, pretty much. Where it really becomes interesting is the external data. In the external data, we work with a couple of other parties. To start with, Activity Stream. Activity Stream is an overarching platform for ticketing, and it can automate the carbon accounting for all visitors to your event who bought a ticket with an 85% accuracy. And it's been built together with several of leading universities in the world to make sure that we can get that accuracy, and that's without asking any questions to your visitors to the event. And for most people, for most events, the visitors to the event, or in your case, the participants to the event, are a very, very big factor in your scope 3. So being able to measure that is important. We can create more accuracy on that by asking 1 or 2 questions to the people that are coming to the event. There are several different solutions for that. But most important is that we can reach up to 95% of accuracy if we are able to ask a couple of questions. Another very important element in our platform is the supplier or the value chain automation. If there's anybody who's here who's doing sustainability, they know chasing up your supplier chain is a huge headache. It costs a lot of time. We automate that process. We simplify it. We automate it. And then if you look on the bottom, you see the real-time emission factors. We are connected to a database that has over 140,000 emission factors built in real time. They're connected to us, so anything changes, it changes in our system as well. We're using companies that are doing 2 independent scientific checks, so you always know that the data is real. And we're adding another company beginning next month that is going to specialize in the events industries, specific on what we're doing, because it's very hard to give, for example, It's very difficult to measure or get a emission factor for pyro or fireworks on the end of your race, or it's very difficult to get an emission factor for a gold, wooden, silver, bronze plaque or a trophy. These emission factors will be calculated specifically for us. That way, we know that we are much deeper into or lunch boxes for during a race, etc. These things are going to be in our platform fairly soon, specifically measured for us, and then we can use that for our clients as well. For us, it's important that we do everything according to the rules and regulations and to the most accurate global standards. So Gaia will take all data and run it against the greenhouse gas protocol, the science-based targets, the World Resource Institute, and the Global Reporting Initiative. And then over top of that, all the output is according to the international frameworks, the European Union CSRD, the European Union Framework Convention of the Climate Change, United Nations Sustainability Goals, and the EU Green Deal. All of them are ensuring that we get everything according to the regulations and everything that you need to present in a proper way. In the output, we say measuring is the most important, but not measuring just for the sake of measuring. We need to know what we need to measure and why we need to measure it. And then we also need to make sure that we're a platform that can benchmark your other events if you do multiple events, or even benchmark it against industry standards, which our platform can do. Then in communication, we do reporting and stakeholder engagement, so everybody gets automated information about where they can improve. Then we do reduction planning and give you clear insights. And then last but not least, the offset. And that's a little bit of where we are here for today. As we said, the offset is a little bit the elephant in the room. The first step, of course, is to measure, because you don't know what you don't know. If you don't measure, or if the industry as a whole does not start measuring, it's really difficult to start creating a baseline, to start building on what we need to do and how to create a better planet and how to reduce those carbon emissions, or even to figure out what you should offset and why. If we're looking at the measuring, then after the measuring comes the analysis. You look very clearly on what is coming in, and we can make a very, very accurate estimation. Just for giving a better picture of that, if we do the emission factors, there's global databases that we're connected to, and if in your specific area there is no emission factor for what you need, then automatically the system takes it from the province. If it's not in the province, it takes the country. If not the country, it takes the continent, and only if that's not available, they take the country the worldwide standard. So the analysis can be very, very detailed and very accurate, and of course is according to the Paris Agreement. Once you've done the analysis and you've set your targets, it's also what we found. It's very important to get buy-in from your stakeholders. If there's a lot of organizations that do what they do because they have to, and you'll see that the success rate is about 4%, and that's not very, very high. If you're looking at creating buy-in from all your stakeholders, for example, by choosing an offset which is very close to your event, or has a storyline which is to your event, and if you then share that storyline through your event app, if you make sure that everybody is involved, that everybody believes the same thing that you believe, and everybody does this together, the success rate can go up to 40%. So which is a tenfold of not having any buy-in from anyone and just doing it because you think it's the right thing to do, or just doing it because you have to. Then it's important to reduce as much as possible. We say that because there's also a lot of companies that just measure and offset the rest. That's great. It's a great start, but it's not what we're thinking about when we're talking about net zero. You can be an oil company and destroying the planet on one side and buying offset on the other side. It doesn't mean that you're net zero. It means you're at least doing something, and we're very happy with that. But if we're talking about the elephant in the room, you first start to reduce. So through our platform, you can automate that process. So you can look at what are the top 5 highest contributors to your carbon footprint, and look why that is, and then you can see what you can do to reduce it automatically, and then you can make a plan according to that. But even if you're working with Excel or any other competitor platform, just look at what is your plan, how can I reduce that, set the plan, make sure you do that all together, make sure all stakeholders are involved, and build it from there. And then, only then, when you've reduced everything that you can, offset the non-reducible. Offset is also something that is something that a lot of companies had some bad experience with early on, because there's been some cowboys in the market that have been selling offset, one offset product to 3, 4, or maybe 10 different companies. Luckily, over the last period of time, that has professionalized. We work with a company called Patch. Patch is integrated into our platform directly. And what Patch does, it sells over 6,000 different offset products around the world. And they do that according to the on the blockchain. So they can never, ever sell one offset to multiple clients. You always know for sure that you're offsetting it in the right way, and that what you pay for is actually something that you're helping the planet with. Patch is then controlled by Silvera and by B0. These are 2 organizations that are independent from Patch. They're also working for other companies, and they make sure that Patch is doing what they need to be doing. They're measuring the quality of the carbon offset. They measuring the loss of it, and that way you can get the most accurate numbers in your organization for your offsetting once you've reduced everything you could. That's what I wanted to share with you. Thank you very, very much for your time. And is there anybody who has any questions?
Thanks so much, Jeroen. I don't see any questions in the chat at this stage. Some really useful insights there. Thank you. I was really interested in that whole stakeholder engagement and the way that the impact jumped from, I think you said 3% or 5% or something, to 40%. That was quite amazing for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting. Thank you. We'll obviously share your deck with participants, which has got your contact details on as well.
Of course.
And really appreciate you being on with us while you're obviously clearly under the weather. Hope you get a chance to recover during the rest of the day.
Sorry, guys, for that.
No worries at all.
Thank you very much,
so
and guys, have a very good rest of the show. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Jeroen. Bye-bye.
You're welcome. Thanks.
Thanks. So as we move on to the next section, the growing allure of extraordinary destination experiences. This is a really amazing story. We had Alessio and myself had a great planning call a few days ago with Jeff Adams, who's the president of Marathon Tours and Travel. Hello, Jeff, joining us from a pretty cold Boston, I would imagine.
Cold Boston, yes. In the minus range this morning. So good brisk walk to the office to get ready for this call. Thanks for having me.
Wonderful. Thank you for making the time. Great to have you with us. When we were chatting the other day, you've got a pretty fascinating business model. I think you said 45 tours on your schedule for 2024, and that's a mix of events like the Abbott World Marathon Majors and other marquee events, but you also have a model where you own and create your own amazing, unique events. Tell us a little bit about the story of Marathon Tours and Travel and how you've got to where you are.
Well, the story is a 45-year journey to date. The first trip 45 years ago, 2 buses from Boston to New York City. So from the inception, we've been very closely aligned with New York City Marathon, Boston Marathon, our founder, Tom Gilligan, visionary travel guy who had a passion for running, happened to run for the Boston Athletic Club as a very talented runner. So that was the foundation, his knowledge of the sport, his passion for travel, the Boston relationship, the New York relationship, and then it just built from there to the 45 events. The things that I think Tom really understood from the start was the importance of a balance between the race being the catalyst as to where you went and when you went. But his goal, I think, was always to make sure that when the client returned home, runners and supporters, that the race maybe was a footnote to the cultural experience, to the camaraderie, to the realization that good value, they couldn't have done that on their own for that price, and the fact that he took a lot of the stress out of the logistics, getting into the race, getting into the country, whatever those unique logistics were. So today, as you said, 45 running events on the calendar. We've also recently expanded with sportive breaks to include cycling and tri-travel for triathlons. We're trying to aggregate all of the activities, the endurance activities that our clients are interested in pursuing and traveling to pursue in one place to strengthen that relationship even more. As a result of that focus on the clients, Tom was also very good with, let's call it a feedback loop, a survey at the end of each trip, and asking the clients to be very candid, to be his advisory board, if you will. And so along the way, some of that feedback opened the door for some of the more adventurous marathons we now have on the calendar. For example, 1995, when he created the Antarctica Marathon. So I'm proud to take the handoff from Tom and be the race director going forward of the Antarctica Marathon. Additional adventure marathons that we've created and known: Madagascar, Patagonia. We're launching a new one this year as a result of our clients' feedback, especially our Antarctica alumni. They're looking for a reunion tour, boat experience race. So we're actually right now in the process of wrapping up pre-registration for a new Arctic marathon. And I think we're going to be sold out before we actually open the event. So that gives you a little sense of the strength of the client relationship. And then, some additional races that we're focused on, new acquisition that I mentioned to you earlier this week, that I can now share the name with you, is a race in Australia, Kangaroo Island. That also is a result of client feedback, looking for an adventurous opportunity in Australia, maybe to match up with another race, the Sydney Marathon. So we've got a wonderful partnership with the clients. It's led to the majority of these innovative aspects of what we do. And it also allowed us to not just survive the pandemic, but actually thrive during the pandemic because of the strong relationship with our clients and the trust they place in us.
Amazing story, and we probably don't have time to go onto it on this call, but the new Arctic Marathon, some of the logistics around that, the chartering of boats and so on. I mean, just quite a fascinating story, maybe for another time. But you touched on this being oversold before you even get to launch date, and that I think is part of obviously the service you deliver, but also you founded the Seven Continents Club, and you spoke about reunions there. Talk to us a little bit about the club and the loyalty that you've built around that, and how that kind of dovetails into the business that you've built.
Yeah, we're actually dealing with a success challenge, so to speak, with Seven Continents Club. It started as a recognition club. Before there was the Abbott 6-star medal that has captured, the imagination of so many runners. There was the Seven Continents Club finisher medal. On that first trip back from Antarctica, enjoying a couple pints at the bar, a few of the runners realized that they had just completed a race on the seventh continent. And from just that casual conversation, Tom saw the opportunity to celebrate that. Obviously, he's focused on getting runners to the start line, and he also does a very good job of celebrating at the bar afterwards, their accomplishment. He saw this as another way to recognize and celebrate the runners. So Seven Continents Club also originated in 1995, originally recognizing marathon runners, and then a few years later, half marathon runners were added. And as I mentioned to you on our pre-call, we've just added in 2023 the ultra distance as an opportunity to be recognized. And for the races we own, we're adding ultras to those races starting this year. So Antarctica coming up in March, Madagascar back on the calendar for June. We have added a new distance. And we're strengthening our relationship with many of the race directors around the world that offer ultras. So the granddaddy of them all being Comrades, we're the exclusive international tour operator for Comrades. So the recognition success has been one path. The other one is the Seven Continents Club. If you think about it, it's fairly affluent group, somebody that's going to raise their hand and say, I'm committing to running the majors. And then after I've ran those 6 races and checked those 3 continents off my to-do list, many of our clients then continue the journey because they've enjoyed the service, the camaraderie, the other aspects of what we provide. And so we're seeing a significant surge in Seven Continents Club as a VIP travel club. So in the running industry, I would say it's, the most successful VIP travel club that exists. And here in the next quarter, we'll be making a significant investment in additional benefits, working with our strategic partners and other benefits that we know our clients value, like early sign up for the Arctic race, early sign up for majors that sell out and have multi-year wait lists. Those perks have really resonated. So these individuals that say, I'm going to invest the time, I'm going to invest the money to be able to pursue my goals on all 7 continents, all 6 majors. We want to continue to invest in that program and ensure that it stays a leading industry travel program, much like you might have with an airline or a hotel. So we've got a challenge here in that we're having success on both of those paths, and sometimes it gets a little confusing. So we've got a couple of creative ideas in the works for 2024.
Amazing story. And I mean, to be in that position where you can just imagine the database that you've got of, I mean, must be some incredibly impressive people that are part of that group that you're taking all over the world and getting feedback and ideas on. I'd love to sort of take that as a segue into what are you seeing as trends? You've spoken a little bit, they're looking for new adventures, they're looking for different things. You touched on the pre-call about the fact that immediately post-COVID, people were kind of going more remote because they were still concerned about COVID. Now there seems to be that swing back to an appeal of city races and big city races. You also touched on adding ultras. So what are some of the trends that you're seeing around the world at the moment that would be useful for people on the call to hear of?
Yeah, we absolutely did see an increase in some of our remote or adventure races post-COVID. People were not as comfortable getting back into a large urban setting or large race. So we saw a big uptick in our race in Chile and Patagonia. We always have a 3-year wait list with our Antarctica race. So we definitely saw that. Bhutan was another one that we saw increase. We work with 209, a good partner in the UK that has created that event. And the pendulum swung back in favor of races like Rio. I'll stay with South America. You know, Rio was almost twice as many participants this year for us. So my guess is we're going to see a balancing now that we've had those two swings. The pandemic is, for many, if not most parts of the world, in the rearview mirror. Still a couple of countries working their way back. I mentioned we're finally able to get Madagascar back on the calendar this year. So that's one trend. Obviously, the majors are a trend, and Sydney having success in 2023 with passing the 104 criteria points, being one step away from being the 7th major. You know, that's created a bit of a challenging trend, if you will, in terms of the majors casting a big shadow. You know, we had races that 10 years ago were fixtures on the calendar that the interest waned as interest grew for going to Europe to run Berlin. Well, if I'm going to go back to Europe a second time, it's not to go run Stockholm. I'm going to go run London. So, you know, you've got offsetting trends there. We're definitely seeing a younger demographic trend, especially with the adventure marathons. That 25 to 35-year-old segment is growing for us. And as I talk to those participants and supporters, I'm hearing a clear message. Unlike the generations before them, they're not in a hurry to go collect things. They're not collecting spouses and houses and the things you put in houses. They want to go collect experiences. And then they want to go back and check that next continent off. So we're seeing that. That's a great trend. You know, there was definitely a little bit of I think the buzzword in the press was revenge travel last year. I think I saw that term quite a bit. Making up for lost time is another way you might put it. You know, the lost years of COVID. That revenge travel to our clients meant that if I'm going to go to that destination, I'm not going to be in a hurry to go home. So there was a definite increase in demand for pre-trip and post-trip extensions, 3 and 4 extensions off of races like Berlin for us. So that's a nice trend, and you know, continued interest in something we call a twofer, 2 trips, 1 international flight. So also a positive trend. The one I'm focused on right now, again, kind of starting to see it as a buzzword in the press, indigenous tourism. So that, I've got a good comparison, I guess, on that one. If you think about Antarctica, the attraction is I'm kayaking with whales the morning after the race. The scale of the weather, the scale of the landscape, the scale of the animal interaction. When I compare that to the Arctic that we're launching this year, I check all those same boxes, but I also check in an indigenous, the Inuits village experience was fascinating. And to be able to have a village host us and be able to do something for that village philanthropically. And we see the same thing when we're running through 4 villages in Madagascar, Bhutan, that cultural experience, to see running introduced to the youth of that country that didn't understand or even really know that sport. And 3 or 4 years later, I'm running downhill from the Zong over a covered bridge. And here's 2 young ladies that are just stride for stride, enjoying the sport and understanding the sport, when 2 years later, they wouldn't have been out there in the race. So that one definitely trending up, and I can go on and on and on, but you know, the basic story is definite growth, definite extending of the trips, and I think for any of the providers on the call, more of a focus on maybe spoiling themselves a little bit. So when we open up a trip, we're seeing our top room categories sell out first. We're seeing, the extensions sell out quickly. And so I like to say all of our problems right now are good problems. We just don't have enough hours in the day because there's a lot of demand out there, and very interesting opportunities for us.
Sounds like it. I'd like to come back to the point you touched on Berlin, and this really fascinated me when you were talking. You spoke about the 2-for-1 flight, and I think you said that you've created 5 different elements of programming around Berlin. And I expected you were going to tell me that you had another 5 things around the perimeters of Berlin, but just touch on those without me stealing the thunder there. Love to touch on that. We've only got about 5 minutes left. We've got a question from Tracy Sunderland, and I'd also like to maybe just come back to as a wrap up, the Sydney relationship as well, because that started, I believe, before they were a contender, a candidate city. But yeah, just touch on starting with Berlin, and then I'll pick up Tracy's question, and we'll come back and wrap up with Sydney.
Yeah, Berlin's really a reflection of our 45 races. Some are adventure races, some are more cultural, some are more urban. And so when you look at our post-race, the demand from clients for post-Berlin is someone to go celebrate. So they go to Munich for the start of Oktoberfest. Some are a little more culturally motivated, and so they want to go to Prague and just experience the history and the cuisine and that cultural experience. Others are looking for that second race, one international flight. And in most years, this one's an exception, but in most years, that means we go to Edinburgh, midweek transition up to the Highlands, and then we run the Loch Ness Marathon the following week. And then, we always have a variation of others based on current demand. But you'll see that as a consistent theme. Typically, you've got the food and wine or culture focused, more adventure focused. And those that are looking to run that second race. So Sydney is somebody that we approached in 2018. One, convinced that with the growth of the majors, they would be a prime candidate. The origins of that race are the Sydney Olympics, Southern Hemisphere. The Australian runners travel so well; they have to travel a long way to run their 6 majors. So the door should swing the other way. And Wayne Larden, the race director, and his team saw the value of the 7 Continents Club as an affluent segment. So there was an immediate connection. And because of our longstanding history with the other majors, as one of their first supporters, in most cases, it provided, through our friendship, a feedback loop to where I could share best practice for him. Now, that best practice, him being a very qualified runner, cross-country runner, many different distances, he understands that. He didn't understand what we did. And he's smart enough to say, I want you to come in and build the hotel program for me like we've been doing for Boston for 30 years. So the runners get great value in terms of hotel choices and prices. Help me build the international tour operator program. So we now have 80 international tour operators vetted and helping broadcast his message. So we built that from 28 last year. So we've taken on that responsibility for him. And then the VIP travel package option for the domestic runners, much like we do for Boston, New York, and Chicago here in the US. So we're doing all 3 of those things for Wayne, helping him check the boxes. And the acquisition of the Kangaroo Island race that's the week before. Maybe next year it'll be the week after, but it's going to be a week before or after, so that our clients that make that investment of time and money to fly all the way to Australia have an option to go enjoy some of the best wine country of Australia and run a race. So I could go check my half marathon box for Oceania, my marathon box for Oceania, and enjoy a little wine in between, and fabulous cultural experience there. So both good examples of just us staying in sync with our clients and helping them accomplish their goals.
Wonderful. And yeah, thank you for all that. And I actually misread, it wasn't a question from Tracy. It was just thanks for a great presentation and acknowledging and honoring Tom. That kind of brings us almost to a perfect stop. Wonderful conversation. We could have gone on for way longer, Jeff. I think the key takeaway for me is that it is so much more multifaceted than probably some people think about. There's so many opportunities to add on to the offerings and to partner and collaborate. And wish you all the very best in the continued journey. I'm sure you're going to be creating many amazing memories for many more runners in times to come, and hopefully we'll get to cross paths in person one day soon.
Yeah, that the psychic income of what we get to do, and participating with those runners, accomplishing their goals is something I never imagined I'd be able to enjoy. And I appreciate Tom bringing me in 10 years ago to start running things and give him his path to retirement. It's definite fuel when you're on a ship and you get to hear the story and then you see them accomplishment. I ran that race in 2013. It's more enjoyable than the personal accomplishment to get that psychic income from 140 people on the ship this year. So best of luck to you and everybody on the call. Appreciate you giving me a little time as well. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Jeff. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. So as Jeff leaves us, we move on to our almost final segment. We will be welcoming Charlotte Melchert, who's the CEO and founder of World Sports Groups. There you are on the screen, Charlotte. Nice to see you. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful, and really excited to hear your presentation, which has got quite a lot of interesting data in it. Trend spotting among international participants. You should be able to share your presentation and share your screen, and I'll see you at the end of the presentation. And as always, if anyone's got any questions during Charlotte's presentation, pop them in the chat, and I'll curate them for us afterwards. Over to you, Charlotte.
Yeah, and I wanted to start by thanking Jeff for a really insightful presentation, and I'm probably going to touch on some of the things that you mentioned in yours. So World Sports Group, just to describe a bit on what we're doing, we're operating 2 platforms to help athletes find their next big challenge. 90% of our users book an event internationally, so they travel to experience something new. And we run 2 platforms, as said. It's Ahutu, started off as a global calendar for running, but now hosts 28 different endurance sports. And then we have World's Marathons, where users go to find their next long distance running event. We cater to athletes all over the globe, cover almost every single country in the world, have a lot of traffic from everywhere. And today we list around 45,000 events, close to 80,000 races. And that's us in a nutshell. Just to describe how we have tried to also expand our reach, we now also work with Garmin and help Garmin users also find events through us. And the main difference between us and many other players are that we provide incremental booking on top of the registration platform. So we are not a registration platform. We are happy to work together with registration platforms, and the aim is to grow the events. If we look at our users, they are a little bit particular because they participate in many events every year. So this was data we brought out for 2023. And as you can see, our audience are extremely devoted to the sport. 15% participate in more than 11 endurance events per year, which is a lot. Of course, a mix then of local and international events. And 20% participate in at least 6 events. So it's a really good group to reach. If we look at some trends that we have tried to pick up, and some of these are more light facts and other things we tried to pull out from the database, so please bear with me on that. Overall, we can see that it's a really great interest in finding an international event. So We have managed to increase the ticket sales on the platform with 75% compared to 2022. And the nice thing is that we can see that all types of events sell well, from a more niched trail to very famous marathons. All have started to get participants back. And this is touching a lot upon the topics that Jeff mentioned, that what they are looking for now is value-driven experiences. So it's a great rebound in tourism, but it's slightly different than what it used to be before the pandemic. And now our users and I guess tourists in general look for something different. They want to experience something unique, combine a journey with learning more, culture experiences, ecotourism, wellness, and sports. So our industry is very well aligned with that trend. And we also see a race, even though we do not directly work on the travel packages, we can also see a trend on the travel package side, and that is more and more popular. When we dig into our data and try to find the biggest segments for going abroad to race, we have 5 regional countries that stand out. UK and US are the biggest markets in terms of users that go abroad to find their next event. Then we have France and Germany, which are really big markets as well, and overall Western Europe. What do they look for then? The most popular events are in warm locations, exotic locations, and they are easily accessible. So they usually have an airport or a bigger railway station close to it. Also, Asian destinations are getting more and more popular. We saw in the mid last year that Asian races didn't perform that well, but it has changed in Q4. And Asian events are increasingly popular in among these audiences. And then, as always, these more well-known races like Rome that we have also heard about in this call, this kind of capital races, they are very, very popular in this audience. And maybe it's a big investment to go somewhere and maybe bring your family. So then they want to make sure that they invest the money in a good event experience. We asked our users what the reason why they join endurance events in general. And what is quite interesting, if we compare the data and insights we have had before the pandemic with what we got now, is that they increasingly want to combine a sport with a vacation. So they maybe want to go somewhere, or they're interested in a special region or country to visit, and then they try to look for an endurance event that takes place there. Or the other way around, that they maybe evaluate events a bit more based on the attractiveness of the destination. And they also want to go somewhere new. Having repeating customers or repeating participants is increasingly difficult, as they are looking for some new unique experience. But this also stress a need for the race organizer. It gets a little bit more difficult because there are also factors that are hard to control. The number one decision factor when deciding if you want to go on this event or this event is the location and how accessible it is. So it's much easier to promote and sell an event that, as I said, has a nearby airport or good connections. But that doesn't take away the attractiveness of other events as well. You just have to make sure that you are very clear on how to get to the event, and maybe also be prepared to cater a bit more for the international needs, maybe with extra transportation or just more information, because this is the number one thing that they care about. And then they also want to know that they could do other things except from just participating in the event. And the main driver for the second category of tourist activities nearby is the fact that they increasingly go to events with their families or friends. And then they want to make sure that everyone can enjoy this journey. This can also be something that organizers, where organizers can collaborate with the local tourism authorities and do a joint promotion of the destination. And I know many events that also get funding and help with marketing through their local tourism agencies. So this is something I really would like to promote as a good route for event organizers. And then entry fees are less important for internationals. So you can, if you have a good package, they don't care that much about the actual entry. There are other things that are more costly around it. This is showing the one event and how the days between the booking and the actual race. And what you can see is that internationals book a lot more in advance. So in general, 6 months in ahead, but yeah, some really look forward to a race, and as soon as registration start, they make sure they have the ticket, and then they start to mentally prepare for the race. So it's a good audience in that sense as well, that you can have some more predictability in your sales and how many participants you can get. Now we're coming to a more lighter area of the presentation. So we have asked our participants what they want events to improve. So what could make them come back and what would give them higher ratings. And these were some of the insights we have. So these are more of recommendations for event organizers when thinking about their events and also attracting an international audience. The information and communication part is the key, and we can also see a big difference in events that put focus on having clear information in English to the audience, and the ones that are a little bit more vague or maybe do not publish information until very late in the process. The events that focus on this tend to be more successful in attracting internationals. They like to get extra things around, so massages and things, and something that everyone cares a lot about are the toilets. So even the international ones bring up that often that there needs to be lots of toilets. And on the nutrition side, something that maybe stands out for the international audience is that they do request vegetarian options. This can be the fact that we have UK and US as the biggest segments within international tourism, and there we have seen, and also Germany, a great vegan trend. And when they go abroad, they also want to have this more, say, eco-friendly touch of the event, and make sure that the event also understands sustainability, and the food is one part of it. Transportation-wise, if it's possible to offer some free transportation and just pamper this user group a bit is very appreciated. And this is also something we can see a lot in reviews and when our users write their race reports, that they are very happy if they get some more support in just getting to the event. And maybe they have never been in the country before, they don't speak the language, and that extra help is very appreciated. And as they go more with families nowadays, they also want to have more family-oriented activities. Many events have started to actually have also activities for participants coming in flying into the event, and that are also including the ones joining the participants, so family and friends. And I think that's a really good idea, because if the family is happy, everyone is happy. And also to focus a bit more on the inclusiveness of it, and as we've heard as well, women is a growing segment. They usually they often plan the family vacations, so including them in the communication and trying to target that group is very smart. And when it comes to discounts, just to mention one more thing here, as said, the entry fee is not that important for internationals, but what we can see is that everyone appreciates to maybe get some perk connected to the event sponsors or in the expo. And a very important area that pops up more and more often, and something we also plan to look into as a company, is the environmental impact, and really interesting to also hear about the carbon offset and how we can handle that. We believe that that will be something that is more taken into consideration when selecting one event over the other, and of course something as we also want to participate in and be a positive force in that. Having plastic waste and so is not very appreciated. I don't think either by local runners, so it's a good thing to take into consideration. And then again, this culture and local experience, if you can offer something different, and we heard Jeff talk about that as well, but also in the long tail of events, just take something from your area, something that makes you unique, and sometimes you're a bit blind to what your country or destination offers, but try to think about it from an international view, and then this is generally what people remember. They have the event, and then they remember cultural things and things they have experienced outside of the race course. I think that's it. I just wanted to end by saying that it's really a great momentum when it comes to international participants, and it's a booming market. We can see the growth in all areas, and as said, also smaller events attract internationals now. So very good momentum, and we more than happy to help you if you think about expanding your international reach.
Thanks so much, Charlotte. Lots of great insights there, as always. If you wouldn't mind, just stop the share of your deck there for us for a moment, please. Thank you for all of those insights. Great to see you again. I think there's one question from Tracy. I'm going to ask you to take that offline, because Alessio has a tight deadline and he wants to say a few words before he wraps up. So if you wouldn't mind responding to Tracy in the chat, please, Charlotte, that would be great. Thank you once again for making the time and pulling together all those insights, which are definitely very valuable for many in the industry. And we'll catch up with you again soon.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. Thanks. As we welcome back Alessio, just to say a few words and wrap up. Welcome back, Alessio.
Yes, thank you, Chris. I really enjoyed the show today. A couple of words real quick from me. The first one is apologies on my behalf also for a technical glitch. If you really have 15 minutes to spare, I recommend you stay, because the interview, the pre-recorded segment with Ms. Tang is very, very interesting. China remains a big mystery to some of us, and that will certainly help dispel some of the clouds and myths that exist around it. So if you have time, stay. Second thing I wanted to say, I will be at the Run conference at the end of the month, beginning of February. So if you are there, come and say hi. And then, as usual, the rendezvous at the next webinar will be most probably mid-March. It will be around International Women's Day, and Chris and I already started to put together the beginning of a program which will be around women's running. So from the standpoint of running events, brands, marketing, very interesting, and yeah, hopefully insights there as well. Thank you for staying the distance, and sorry once again for the glitch, but you know, we are live, so these things do happen. Thank you, Chris, and have a positive rest of the session. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much, Alessio. Thanks for joining us. Tonight we had over 400 people registered from over 80 countries. At our peak, we were close to 200 people online, which these days are close to 50% turnout's pretty good. So thank you so much for staying with us. As Alessio mentioned, we're already starting to plan for the next one, which will be around women's running, around International Women's Day. So mid-March, either the 7th or the following week, probably the 12th or the 13th. We look forward to seeing you then. A reminder that this has been live streamed on Facebook. So if there were parts that you missed or you want to come back and catch, we also are recording, and we will send the recordings and also all the decks out. The 3 decks that we had tonight will be made available. If there's anything that I can help you with, if you need any contacts of any of the speakers or presenters, please don't hesitate to contact me, chris@massparticipationworld.com. Thanks again for staying the distance. Thanks to all of our speakers. Some of them are still online with us. And we look forward to seeing you in March. Go well, sleep well, have a great day wherever you are in the world. And thanks so much for joining us. I'm Chris Robb, CEO and founder of Mass Participation World. Thanks once again. Bye-bye.